All right, let's talk about trust in AI, but probably not in the way you're thinking. When we think of AI going wrong, we usually picture, killer robots and sci-fi movie stuff. But the real danger to the AI we're all starting to depend on, it's something way quieter, way more subtle. And honestly, it's already happening. And that idea, it's captured perfectly right here. We're all braced for some big, obvious AI failure, a huge crash. But the real threat, the thing that can truly break these systems, it isn't a loud bang. It's more like a quiet whisper, a subtle corruption that happens completely behind the scenes, silently eating away at the integrity of the whole system. So that's exactly what we're going to dive into first, the silent threat. We need to get a handle on what these invisible attacks actually look like and really understand what makes them so incredibly dangerous. So what are we actually talking about here? What are these invisible vectors? What kind of attack can poison an AI so quietly that you might not even realize something's wrong until it's way, way too late? Well, here are three of the biggest culprits. First up, hidden prompt injections. This is sneaky stuff. Imagine you tell an AI to summarize a report, but buried in that report is a secret command telling it to ignore all the bad customer reviews. That's a prompt injection. Then you've got data poisoning. This is where you contaminate the actual data the AI is learning from. And then there's malicious labels, which is exactly what it sounds like. Somebody intentionally labels a picture of a cat as a dog over and over again until the AI's entire understanding of the world starts to get warped. Okay, so that's the scary part, right? It's subtle, it's serious. The big question is, what on earth do we do about it? How do you fight an enemy you can't even see? Well, that brings us to a new kind of defense. And this is all about a huge shift in mindset, from just reacting to problems after they happen to actually getting out ahead of them and preventing them in the first place. For the longest time, the thinking around AI security was basically hope for the best. Just assume the data's good, assume people have good intentions. But that's just a recipe for disaster. You just can't build a real foundation of trust by closing your eyes and ignoring these threats. And that's the real shift in thinking. Instead of just hoping for trust to magically appear, we have to build it. Trust has to be engineered right into the core of the system from the ground up by anticipating these attacks from day one. It's a complete flip from being passive to being actively, deliberately defensive. So let's get into the good stuff. How do you actually do this? This brings us to our final section, the architecture of accountability. Now we're going to look at the nuts and bolts of a protocol that's specifically designed to put this proactive philosophy into action. So what does it really mean to engineer trust? It means building what's called a proactive defense system, a system that's all about preventing the mess, not just cleaning it up later. And the source material we're looking at today points to a protocol from a project called CoData as a really solid example of this idea at work. It really comes down to three core pillars. First, trace. You have to be able to trace every single piece of data back to its source. No anonymous data allowed. Second, verify. The whole network of users can check and validate that data. And third, and this is the game changer, stake. This is where accountability comes in. To contribute data, you have to put some skin in the game. You have to stake your own money on it. If your data turns out to be bad or malicious, you lose that stake. Trace, verify, stake. See how that works? It creates this powerful, built-in economic reason to be honest. So what's the end result of all this? This whole architecture guards the edges. Think of it like a bouncer at the door of your AI. By making sure every single piece of information is checked, verified, and backed by a real consequence before it gets in, you stop the contamination from ever entering the system in the first place. If the inputs are clean, the AI built on top of them stays clean. And that really brings us to the final big idea, because this is about more than just one AI model, isn't it? It's about changing how we build our entire digital world. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What does our future really look like when it's built not on blind faith, but on a foundation of provable, engineered trust?